Your bank has a model risk framework it trusts. It validated your credit scorecards. It validated your capital models and your fraud rules. For years it worked and it passed every examination. It has a hole in it and generative AI is walking straight through it. The framework was built for one kind of model. The one you are deploying now is a different kind entirely, and the old rulebook was never written for it. So let me show you the gap and the 5 moves that close it. Here is why this is different from last year. For 15 years, model risk in banking lived under one piece of guidance, the supervisory letter known as SR 11-7. It told you how to validate a model. Prove it is conceptually sound, test it against history, monitor it over time. And underneath it made 2 quiet assumptions, that the model was yours and that it sat still. This year the regulators rewrote it, the Federal Reserve, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation issued new guidance SR 26-2 on the 17th of April, 2026. It replaced the old letters and moved supervision to a risk-based, materiality-driven model. And it did something that should stop every risk committee. It put generative and agentic AI outside its scope. Not deregulated. The guidance is explicit that you must still govern these systems. Just outside the model risk rulebook you already run, read that again. The regulator has told you in writing that the old framework does not cover this kind of model. Out of scope is not out of governance. Europe is moving the same way, with new transparency duties arriving in 2026, and Vietnam's rules are already in force. So the question lands squarely on you. If the old framework does not cover it, what does? To see the whole, look at what classical validation quietly assumes. It assumes a model is stable, a fixed specification you can pin down and sign off. It assumes the model is inspectable, you own the code, the weights, the training data. It assumes it is backtestable, you can score its predictions against what actually happened. And it assumes the model is passive, it outputs a number, and a human or a hard rule takes the action. A generative model breaks all 4. It is non-deterministic, ask the same question twice, and the wording changes. It is closed, you reach a third-party model through an interface. You cannot open the weights or audit the training data. It drifts, the vendor updates it quietly, so a system that passed on Monday can fail on Friday, and nobody sends you a release note. And as an agent, it is no longer passive. It plans, it calls tools. It can change a record, move money, message a customer. So the classical toolkit does not fail because your validators are weak. It fails because there is nothing stable to pin down, nothing to open, and no clean history to test against. Conceptual soundness, backtesting, outcomes analysis, none of them map. Most banks deploy generative AI faster than they can assure it, and then reach for the model risk playbook they already own, which is exactly the wrong tool. You cannot validate math you are not allowed to see in a model that changes underneath you. Working harder inside that framework only buys you a thicker report. And there is a quieter failure beneath that one. Much of this AI never reaches the risk team at all. It arrives embedded inside vendor software, as a helpful feature switched on by an update, and it bypasses model risk intake entirely. You cannot govern what you have not even counted. That is the whole. Now here is how you close it. Here is the reframe, and it is one sentence. You cannot govern generative AI by validating the model. You govern it by assuring the system around the model. Stop staring into the sealed core you are not allowed to open. Wrap control around it instead. Control you do own, what data it can reach, what tools it may call, what it may do before a human is in the loop. Whether you would notice if it silently got worse. Who answers when a vendor's model fails your customer? Assure the system, not the weights, now the honest part. A skeptic will say this is not model risk at all. A generative model, reached through an interface, is really non-deterministic software. So govern it with your technology risk, cybersecurity, and third-party disciplines. That is largely right, and the new guidance quietly agrees. But it does not mean less control. It means the control moves out of the validation report into the running system. And one sharp warning follows. When an agent can move money, leaders should tier it on its entitlements, not on the polite task it was built for. A low-risk summarizer becomes a high-risk actor the moment you hand it a payment permission. So here is the system to assure. Read them as 5 steps in order. Component 1, inventory 1 register of every AI system, built, bought, or buried in a vendor feature. Component 2, tier by materiality, autonomy, and entitlement, where the payback is clear and the risk-adjusted downside sets the depth. Component 3, orchestrate a control layer between the model and the ledger, with guardrails, transaction limits, a kill switch. And an audit-ready trail, here AI proposes and the orchestration layer disposes. Component 4, evaluate continuously in production, not once a year. Component 5, challenge vendors because you stay accountable for a model you cannot open. Let me show you what the missing system costs. The case every board should know is the Apple Card, run with Goldman Sachs. When customers alleged gender bias, New York regulators investigated and found no intentional bias. The model was not the villains. And yet it produced a regulatory order of more than $89 million. Why? Because the system around the model failed. The dispute handling workflow could not properly route and investigate tens of thousands of complaints. A sound model. A missing orchestration and oversight layer. That is this whole thesis in a single case. The hole is never in the math, it is in the system. Now an older caution about autonomy without a break. Years ago, a large property company let an automated pricing model drive real buying decisions at scale, with no effective human control when the market turned. The losses ran to hundreds of millions, and the business was shut down. It was not generative AI, and it was not a bank, so take it only as a warning about the third ring. An autonomous system that can commit the firm with no working break is a system you have not assured. And the reason to move now is dated. Europe's transparency rules under the AI Act begin to apply from the 2nd of August, 2026, in Vietnam. The AI law and the personal data protection law are already in force, with a grace window for the financial sector into 2027. And the central bank has a draft circular on AI in banking out for consultation. The registry and the orchestration layer are not a someday project. The clock is running. So run the assurance gap read. Name one generative or agentic system. Find its weakest ring. Can you see it? Is it tiered on its entitlements? Does a control layer stand between it and the money? Would you notice if it drifted? Who answers for the vendor? Fix that ring first. And stand up the registry and the orchestration layer before any agent touches customers, money, or a regulated decision. The full grid is in this week's article and newsletter. I am the AI business architect. Design the future, defend the enterprise. Subscribe now.